Yeah.
Cool.
Welcome, everybody. I
Hey
see
guys.
some familiar faces. I think we have maybe one or two new people. How you doing, Fletcher, John? We got Robert in the house.
Andrew. Thank you.
How's it going?
Hey, I got to figure
guys,
out.
I'm gonna go on mute.
No problem.
I don't know what. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Okay, cool. So it's super hot today, so I'm out of the office in the garden. Okay,
Yeah,
so last week I
was either
quite
too hot or too cold, man. It's been chilly over here. It's heating up now, but
it's 32 degrees in Europe, so it's quite hot. But I have seen today some people, I don't know, from I suppose Pakistan or somewhere, they're still in jackets, like, and gloves. It's like, okay.
yeah,
I'm in North India. We got that a lot here too. Although it's just getting dark for the rains before the monsoon. I'm up in the kind of the foothills of the Himalayas in North India, and we're about to get the only 2 cool months coming up because it will be raining all the time. It won't be in direct sunlight. The temperature actually goes down in July and August. So
in November, in November in India, I was in t-shirt and people were like looking like, "Are you crazy? It's cold." Like, okay, it was in India. Love India, but unfortunately can't travel now for some while there. So hopefully we'll resume my flights. I've been in Delhi, in Mumbai, in Nagpur, in Imphal. So basically there, fun times.
They are extending my visa indefinitely, so I've had the ultimate work away, the cheap remote. I don't know what do they call them these days, the remote working facilities. I've had the cheapest remote working facility I can imagine for the last 18 months, and they just keep renewing my visa indefinitely because of the travel restrictions. So this worked out pretty well.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. Good idea.
Okay, so last week was pretty crazy also, in Cardano world. Yeah.
A lot of activity.
So
did everyone have a chance to see our live stream, or I think some of you actually are in it?
Yeah, I just wanted to check if everyone knows what we are talking about the last week, this week actually, the live stream where we discussed the Daedalus and its flaws, like basically the not miscalculations, I would just say, wrong calculations or misrepresentation, as we are called. So everyone has seen from people who are here.
Yes.
I have it.
If you're talking about the pull request in order to fix those zero things,
Yeah, you were there.
I may be the only newcomer here, so yeah, I've seen it.
I think John was there too. Were you there, John? I thought you were there. Yeah. And Andrew, I know, was there as well.
Yeah, which was quite nice, have many people and share their experience, and that gives also a stronger message to HK that we are not alone there, and there's not only few people, but actually the resonance, we can see that people are still posting and commenting, and there's some noise in the market about this. So hopefully we don't have to do a lot of these type of live streams. Just to send a message, but let's see. So how it will turn out. So unfortunately, Ben is on vacation, so our link, direct link, is not there. But let's see. So anyone has some feedback from HK or any other organization?
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, I've been going to the CIP editors meeting, which is convened by the Cardano Foundation since around the end of January this year, where they invited me to talk a little bit about a PR that I had opened since the end of September to try to request that the wallets interpret direct links to stake pools, like stake : and then your stake pool name. I mean, the format evolved a little bit since then. So, I mean, this is kind of one of the best kept secrets in the Cardano community right now, is that this direct stake pool links, which would be of marketing advantage, you would think, to any struggling stake pool operator to try to get delegation into their pool with a single click. Since 2018, these things were proposed, and so I thought I would formulate it as a CIP, thinking that it would be relatively simple to approve. But it turns out that the governance process is a little bit less organized than they would have you to believe from what it says on the tin. So from the time then the stake pool links were put forward officially as a CIP, it began a really long process to try to get anybody to even look at it. So to make a long story short, that time finally came along in January when I started really banging the pots and pans about it, and they said, "We'll come to a meeting and then we'll see if we can attract the attention of the developers." So after a number of these meetings, what one of the developers said, who recently came on to the Stake Pool Operators Forum, where I was also presenting for the first time with Ben's the Stake Pool Dev Forum, I don't know exactly what you call it, last Thursday, Kevin Hammond also came and said something about what they call the underlying incentives of the system. So I understand, I've looked at the various things and pursued, in addition to pursuing the direct links to the stake pools, which would kind of bypass the whole biased and torturous and unfair, whatever you want to call it, ranking algorithm, as well as the color codes and the other things that are antagonistic to the small or underrepresented stake pools that the wallet keeps doing. There is actually a common reason to why all these things happen. And the developers, not to mention any names, but the consensus is that the developers are feeling somewhat bad about having designed all these things according to incentives to centralize stake. So I guess one of the reasons why we have advocacy here in SPOCRA, although I hope I'm not jumping to the wrong conclusion about our motives, is that the small stake pools can't survive. The whole system seems rigged against us. Everyone, without really knowing, most delegators knowing what they're doing, they tend to follow the cues and the color codes and the hints of the UI in order to get into larger pools, whether they're getting good rewards there or not. So this is the way. This is the way the system is designed. So as long as the system is designed this way, there's really nothing that we can do to fight it. So when Kevin Hammond, one of the top IOHK developers, I'm sorry that I can't remember everybody's exact title because they have everybody pretty well siloed over there. This guy is started championing the idea. I've got to copy and paste this link here into the chat here. When he confirmed that he was that he had finally gotten someone to take a second look at those delegation incentives, and this is where the term incentive is very distinctly different than the ranking algorithm, which just says how the numbers are assigned. The delegation incentives say why they are assigned that way. And it goes back to all these famous Cardano technical papers like in 2018 where it said we need K stake pools in order to operate a functional network. We need resistance to Sybil attacks. We want the pledge to be incentivize how much rewards people get, etc. But part of those incentives that they designed it with is that all of the stake goes to K pools and nobody else is left with anything. That incentive still stands.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off. They fucked up the incentives, okay? Whatever they wrote in the papers, that's not what's implemented. All right, so Daedalus is trying to implement shit that's not even reality. Pledge does not matter. It doesn't matter today, okay? It doesn't matter. It's not going to give you better rewards. It's just going to give you a better ranking in the wallet. And I don't even know if that matters anymore.
No.
The incentives discussion is a very different discussion than fixing what's in the wallets. And we can go all kinds of different routes. And we're very familiar with Kevin. Kevin's very aware of what we're doing. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I need to make that distinction. If we go down this incentive trail, we're going to be having this conversation for another year and a half. That's not happening.
So you think they're moving that slowly on it, even though he said some encouraging things recently?
Man, they've been saying shit for... Yes, I do. Sorry. Yeah, I think they're moving very...
Yeah, they're quite slow on a lot of things.
Look, we're not going to see anything until after Alonzo. This decision they're going to make is so controversial, it is going to kill a number of small pools, and they're not going to make that alone. So things need to be in place for that to happen pre-Voltaire. So you can be encouraged all you want. We're close to this. We have been working with dialogue with IOG, and what we've been doing is not working. So that's great. We can work in parallel, but we have an initiative immediately to stop the blood loss, right? We've got to stop the bleeding. So that's my perspective. I'm very close to the communications that are occurring between IOG and the stake pool operators. Ben's doing a great job of capturing our message. What's not happening is when he brings that internally, it's just getting lost.
I heard that too. Yeah.
More yesterday than we accomplished in the past 3 or 4 weeks of pushing this issue. And we've been pushing this issue since last year.
Yeah, a long time. Huh?
Yeah, and so, you asked if what you're talking about is post SPOCRA's motives, and it definitely is. I mean, we want to promote decentralization. So having those rankings the way they are right now and the misrepresentation, like centralizing the stake to K equals 500, that's not what we want.
Absolutely. But has anyone ever, just because I was, Ron, I think it was, that suggested that I come on a little bit and talk about the links to the stake pools. Since this was, this idea, this actually came up with SPOCRA a little while ago. And I think it was, I mean, the time has flown by, but there was a decentralization question that came up about how when it started out as a dialogue with Colin Edwards at IOHK, and then it sort of blew up into the usual thing about the small pools being discriminated against. And there were a couple of this around the same time that I had submitted the CIP about the direct links to the stake pools. And I hope I got that just, there was the
last thing I saw from Colin, last thing I saw about this was they're looking at some new pledge formula and they're researching it still. And that was probably about within 30 days. And if it was public in a SIP, we would have got that link. So we don't know what they're doing. And it's at the point now where that's fine. We got to get to that point. We have to fix the incentive structure. You know, we've got an issue that incentivizes stake pool operators to run more than one pool, right? Everybody knows that's a protocol issue. Well, not everybody knows, but they should know. And so there's two separate initiatives. And I think that, yeah, we want to help and be involved in that. But at the end of the day, too, and this is very clear, pledge secures the network, okay? Stake pool operators that do not meet whatever threshold, they're going to lose. I think that's going to happen. And so, you know, our mandate first and foremost is to secure the network. We want everybody to have a fair opportunity to succeed, and that's not what's happening right now. And I'm speaking for myself as a board member of SPOCRA.
I think, of course, you know, the pledge was discussed already a long time ago, so that will be not a big surprise that, you know, it should matter and it secures the network. So therefore, of course, you know, so there should be some kind of minimal pledge, or at least, you know, pledge curve should be, you know, more, you know, different than it's now, basically. But really, you know, if you don't have any pledge, any skin in the game, then, you know, then of course, you know, you should get less reward, or, you know, there should be centralized. I don't know, but yeah. So that's a thing where they have to work, and at the same time, I feel that they are not there yet, and they're not afraid, but they don't want to, you know, do this also, this changes of parameters, you know, because there are a lot of other things happening now. So they're still happy that there are so many stake pool operators and stake pools, which they can use for the testing, for, you know, see how it goes. And but, you know, we have to have clear message, at least now, just, you know, for those stake pool operators to understand, you know, okay, let's discuss, you know, what's the pledge, minimal pledge, or what, you know, minimal viable pledge. So this should be already, you know, there for people when they start this business to understand, you know, where it's going. Well, so that's also an issue.
Does everybody here, I mean, yeah, these are, I agree with all the proposals that have come up regarding the ranking and all that stuff. And I think you guys are doing great work. But the only reason I mentioned the other one is because there's a second point, a second CIP underway that allows the the delegators to click a web link, an intranet link, and go directly into the wallet and delegate directly to a pool that they've chosen outside of Daedalus. Does everybody know about this? Does everybody here know about that CIP and what it means and what its implications might be? Or is this, am I just mentioning something to people who haven't heard it before?
I remember discussions about this like probably a year or so ago, but I just started looking at the SIP that you showed me, and can you explain? You said that you'd be able to bypass the rankings. Is that removing rankings, or just having this as this link is just another feature?
Well, the only time the rankings are, the only time that the ranking is necessary when you start delegating to a pool and the wallet helps you choose one. So what the function of the link is presumably you're opening your wallet in response to clicking a link that opens in that application, your wallet application, and it takes you directly to delegate to that pool that was in the link. So that link that I just sent out, it has a syntax that's already been agreed to. This CIP has been accepted. This has been on the books. I mean, it's not like they're obligated to implement this immediately, as Kaio was just pointing out.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but this doesn't solve our problem. I'm sorry, it doesn't solve our problem. Yeah, okay, we can start advertising. No, fuck no. It's helpful. We can send out links and draw in customers, but when you've got customers that want to come in and say, "Oh, what's going on with all the stake pools?" They're gonna look. They're going to go check it out. They're not just going to click the link. They've already delegated. They're going to open up their wallet. They're going to see business that I've already won and say, whoa, shit, that guy's fucking up. And they're going to leave. So I get where you're coming from. I think it's a great initiative, but I'm not a man for half-assed solutions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is actually additional, thing nice to have. But yeah, so the issue is that, even those delegators who already delegate to your pool and they go and see, that you are ranked somewhere, really, at the bottom, and also, that there will be no rewards. Of course, they're starting to worry what's going on. So that's, a separate important issue which you have to cover, and they have to fix it, and that's it. All other things are cool, nice, great. I think it's a good thing that you can basically click on a link and you have on your web page, some kind of link where people can click. I don't know if it will be good or bad, because then basically we'll see a lot of advertisement, and basically, people will be having these links, and maybe there will be some scammers, whatever, let's see. But yeah, so that's a good thing, but yeah, it doesn't solve, the current issue which we have and which they have to really, solve as soon as possible. There are actually
guys,
more. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll see you. All right, bye-bye.
See you on the board meeting. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So therefore, even if they add additional functionality, it's good. But yeah, we have to solve this issue, which I don't know why they don't see this as an issue, or why they don't see this as a business misrepresentation, because it's clear picture, that it's wrong. So that's why we started this. But there are other issues. I don't know. For example, one of the guys told me that if you change metadata, then your pool disappears for some while from Daedalus. So yesterday I did it with my pool, and basically, yes, I saw that in the delegation, there is unknown pool now, and people, if you search for my pool, you will not see it. So it's also some kind of bug which we have to address and figure out what's going on, because you will see changes on other pools, and pool, and everything's good. You will not see any errors on Smash server, but still your pool is not there anymore. Which is,
I would just add that I don't think this is a half-assed solution, adding this feature, but I think Kyle's right. It doesn't solve the issue of misrepresenting pools. If you still have that, delegators are going to see that and look at your pool as you're not going to have potential rewards. So that's what we need to have fixed right now. We shouldn't wait any longer for that.
Yeah, just remove that.
Yes,
it's not solved.
I agree. But we've pointed that out as a dependency. That last comment that I sent into pull request 21, the one that's still under consideration, that when they said yes, we're looking at decentralizing the rankings. I suppose that the comment that I made after that is none of that does any good if they're landing on a pool and then the pool looks like shit in the wallet. So the two issues have to be considered together. So I want to be sure that I'll make sure that every time that the CIP comes up in our editors meeting, people know that your issue has to be considered along with it, and vice versa, I would hope.
Yeah, I think that'll help. You know, at this point, part of what this is all about, this is an experiment too, right? These are what the first steps look like when a decentralized global community starts to work on their governance stack, right? How does the community actually make and enforce changes? And so being able to get the part of the community that's the most impacted by this problem to influence a change and quickly is part of what this is about. That's part of what SPOCRA is doing here. We're spearheading that change to show that it can be made and to also start making steps towards what that's going to look like when we're sitting around in a circle doing this as a larger global catalyst-like community for network changes, right? So that's why it's important that in order for these changes to work and for this to actually happen, the spear has to be sharp. It has to be sharp so it makes the impact, right? So all the energy goes into making sure that we make the change that we're looking for. And the way I see the work you're doing, Robert, and anybody else in these SIPs that are all sort of peripheral and or related to what we're trying to do here is it's putting psychic pressure on the developers. They're seeing multiple requests and they're seeing problems from multiple directions that something is wrong with the UI. So at the very least, it gets them to start looking at, do we bring a user feedback loop in here? Do we need user feedback surveys and experiences to be part of the engineering of this and not just a strictly my idea as an engineer developer kind of thing? So that's why I'm in total support of all this stuff because it funnels. But we just have to make sure from the SPOCRA point of view that we keep the spear sharp, one at a time, get it done.
Okay, so I will tell them perhaps that because they specifically asked, we have these meetings every 2 weeks with the CIP editors, and they said to try to get some feedback from the stake pool operators and the groups of stake pool operators. Just the best that I can say is that there are more urgent issues. The consensus is that there's the more urgent issue, which they're already aware of through Ben and through Kevin and all that stuff as you described. And then as soon as that fire is put out, then we can look at rounding out the ecosystem in a way that supports decentralization better. And that's the way most people feel about it. Would that be fair enough?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, any of these changes that promote decentralization, promote the integrity and equilibrium of the backbone of this project. That is what we're here for. So anything that does that, right, that's what we want to get behind and we want to organize and help each other with. That's the job. It's a big job, and that's why it's great. Honestly, I feel great hearing that this is happening, that these SIPs that we're making SIPs for these things. What is, you know, in your experience with SIPs so far, what is the time period between a proposal and an accepted change? I mean, I see that SIP that you gave us has been in there since September, yeah?
It's never happened yet. There's no way to measure it because all of the implemented SIPs were written after they did the work. For things like the metadata registration for Catalyst and whatnot, some of the things that they did with signatures in the wallets, they were basically documentation SIPs that they put on record to describe what the developers were already doing, had already agreed to do in conclave. So this whole idea of an initiative SIP that I noticed that Sean McMurdo had done last year about the decentralizing the rankings, about the initial attempts to rationalize how much pledge had to do with the rewards and all that. So I decided to follow suit by putting through these stake things. And as far as I know, they were the first three. Everything else that came after that was a metadata or a specific developer project that somebody was working on. But we're hoping that maybe someone will take a look at more of these CIPs and find what pull requests they're associated with. Again, I'm not trying to divert your activity from this point of the spear, so to speak. I think it's important that you continue to follow through with what you already started. But every one of these things, after the pulling teeth process of actually getting the developers to pay attention to this, getting some people with editing privileges to promote it, I'd say that as soon as it's a CI, as soon as it's a merged CIP, once it's on the Cardano Foundation's books, then you can submit a feature request about it, and you can say this is an existing Cardano standard. And I think like the link that I just sent you, the SIP almost immediately became a feature request in Daedalus. I won't ask everybody to contribute support to that while you're still focusing on the other one. But and again, I don't have code to make this possible, but if you could just maybe bookmark this one and subscribe to it as members of SPOCRA or board members or other advocates or whatever, then at least follow. And if it's too much time goes by until the implementation, it may be you may want to consider it as the next thing to support, that Daedalus issue for linking to stake pools directly, because as soon as the stake pools don't look like garbage according to the way that the other work points out, then it should be ready for the valid stake pools to have more incoming links to them besides just being sorted and ranked by the sorting hat of the wallet itself, because it's not just like any amateur is now going to be your competitor to have a diverting link that spreads the delegation into a million pieces. This also means that well qualified and trusted sites like the pool tools, the various different types of pool tools, the pool tools that have not come out yet, that maybe say the pools with common interests, the pools representing something that you care about, these will be able to link directly into Daedalus and support your pool with whatever it is that you happen to be doing. So it gives the ecosystem itself a chance to decentralize the delegated stake in a way that the wallet itself may never do, no matter how they fix these delegation incentives or don't.
Yeah. Okay. So in your experience, I'm just learning a little bit about SIPs. So in your experience, 'cause I'm looking here through the commit history of all the SIPs, and I see that your SIP, or at least your addition to the SIP, got committed on the 29th of March, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Committed what? So the proposal that you're making in the SIP gets committed to a branch that's accepted as a list of SIPs in the Cardano Foundation, right? That's the first step.
Yeah, that link that I just sent is kind of built from a little Netlify script out of all the merged subdirectories of that one project on the Cardano Foundation repository. So it's not really styled or anything. It just got links to all the ones links to all the code that's been merged so far. So when you say that someone is presenting a SIP, again, we don't have a perfect vocabulary for this yet. That means that we've made a pull request relative to the Cardano Foundation repository, added a directory to it with our draft of the way that we'd either like to the SIP to an initial draft of the SIP or a change that we want to make to an existing one. So what Sebastian Guillemot at Emergo did is there was in September when this process began, we had a pretty low numbered pull request, number 25, with a proposal for stake pool links that was written from scratch. And the developers really, like I said, they pushed back about this for a few months, but finally Sebastian agreed, look, if you can just merge this in with an existing SIP, that would be less of a trouble for the editors to approve it. So I ended up merging it with CIP 13, which will be on the list in that link that I just sent, and said, all right, well, we'll add stake pool links to the structure they already have for payment links. And that's how it finally, after 2 months after that, they ran out of trivial objections, and eventually it went through. So I think that in order to find out the best way to promote a certain idea into a SIP, to legitimize an urgent feature request or a change to the ecosystem that may benefit stake pool operators or any other special interest group, it helps to present it and get it ratified as a standard before arguing it as for a feature, because it makes that argument more compelling. Now, how compelling it makes it really depends upon the communication between the Cardano Foundation and IOHK and the community itself. And I'm happy to hear that you guys are doing well, but the interagency communication didn't, not to go into too much detail, but it seems to be a little non-cooperative. But it all begins, I think, with getting it down on paper. Getting a standard down that everybody can see, because that's what guides Ethereum development. That's what always guided Bitcoin development. And if we keep the Cardano development visible in such a way, there's only so long they can put up a fight against it.
Okay, so and I can see your pool 61 into the SIP 13 here. So okay. So these developers then, I'm just tracking the process. Okay. After you do all of this documentation and development of the SIP and merge and all the pools and everything that goes into the existing SIP, the developers then they're coming over to these SIPs and they're looking at how they can incorporate that. But how does the process finalize on a SIP to become an incorporated feature?
With only IOHK doing that work, I haven't a clue. They've never exposed any details about that process, about how they prioritize SIPs, how they rank them, or whether they're considered to be on their roadmap or not. They haven't made any commitments about how that works, but it would be a great question for your contact, Kevin or whoever else that you've been with already about your last issue, and ask them specifically about SIPs. If everything so far has been about accepting pull requests and code changes or whatever, that hasn't really included the standards process, or what we're hoping someday will be a governance process, which is definitely in Cardano's long-term best interest. If we can show that there is a governance process, it does more than just help our community. It makes us look good relative to other communities that already do have a governance process. And I am just getting into this online conference thing after doing most of my work on GitHub for the last few months and trying to publish rousing messages on the Cardano forum, which IOHK developers don't really pay any attention to, and the stake pool operators haven't really engaged with. But
let me ask you, Robert, have you seen anything on the Cardano forum about governance alive, or any of the community consensus approval layer that we've been asking for, to lead into Voltaire governance era?
The last I heard from is probably that Catalyst should be expected, as Catalyst is the thing that we're getting instead of Voltaire, not before it. So I'd love to think that the ideal of Voltaire would eventually be achieved, but again, like other people have said about different issues so far, we don't really have time. If we wait for Voltaire, we may actually never get it, because Catalyst is being put forward as something that's good enough. So I don't know if there are any plans to develop Voltaire and an official accountability on the blockchain, as Charles Hoskinson was talking about a couple of weeks ago, because it seems to have been run off the rails by Catalyst. So in the meantime, and I think this is the best summary I can give you of what I've heard from the people on the CIP committee, is that the only way they're going to develop a governance process other than Catalyst is for people who aren't paid salaries by the the official Cardano agencies, the foundation or IO, to actually come into the CIP process and start contributing things. things: contributing CIPs, observing at the CIP meeting, and trying to put comments on the relevant GitHub material, so the CIP editors can do their best to try to make the process democratic, because they themselves have no idea how it will evolve. And this isn't an excuse. This is just saying that no one's ever tried this before. So they're hoping that people from the stake pool community will come into the CIP process and kind of crash their way in. Also, understanding that none of us really know what we're doing here, and try to contribute to the CIP threads, contribute to the pull requests, so the developers and the Cardano community can have a closer engagement. And then I think between us all, we can evolve something that will work.
That's right. And so the latest on this development of engaging with IOG is what they're calling the Catalyst Circle. So about a month ago, we had a third party called Governance Alive that was contracted by IOG to run a pilot for this Catalyst Circle, which would be like 7 to 12 members that are selected from like all the different parts of the Cardano ecosystem, some experts like SIP editors, stuff like that, people that are like involved with development work, and then how you represent delegators too. We're not really sure, but they want to include the representation from like all parts of the ecosystem. At this point, that contract has actually been killed, so it is kind of, like you said, being run through Catalyst. Right now, they're using a software called Open Space. So I don't know if you've been to the Catalyst town hall meeting, but after the town hall meeting, now they're doing a post session where they're starting to discuss some of these things. I think they've kind of tabled the Catalyst Circle idea for the time being, but that might be what we're going to move into to try to have some kind of governance to decide as a community like which SIP should we actually implement. So the pilot program was going to have one SIP, something like a low impact type of decision, just to see how this experiment works, and then I think a software change, right, Ray?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they seem to be out of the race though. I don't know what happened to GA, but I see the Catalyst Alliance is still there, Swarm is still there, and there's still a Catalyst governance initiative happening. But the original contract there with GA, I'm not really sure what's happening with that. It seems to have stalled out, and I don't know if they're just in renegotiations or if they're getting reprimanded for how they've engaged the community or what happened, but we have yet to find out actually what happened to GA and what their final position is with all of this.
Well, that's interesting, because all of the catalyst things would be coming from IO, while the existing CIP editors meeting have been convened by the Cardano Foundation. So what may happen, and what we should probably all keep an eye out for, is that these two branches of the government, so to speak, that we insist that they are cooperative rather than a tug of war as to who gets more influence over the Cardano community. Because I don't want to prophesize anything bad, because I'm just walking into a lot of these things myself. But we wouldn't want those two agencies that are developing the Cardano's future to be fighting over who gets more influence in the governance process. So it maybe, do you think there's a possibility that IO may be trying to come up with something that will supersede the CIP editing process with its own Catalyst version of initiative?
I don't know. The sense that I'm getting is that it's two things, right? The Daedalus wallet has its own roadmap. It's one of the reasons why it's a full node and not just a light wallet like Yoroi. And so for that reason, it has its own developer circle and its own needs and process that it's in, that we can address singularly and make an impact and change on it. That's one thing. The other thing is that, just if we take a bird's eye view of what IOG is in right now, okay, obviously getting smart contracts turned on, P2P turned on, those are the two things that I'm sure are taking up a lot of their time, plus dealing with enterprise partners and onboarding from the Cardano Foundation as they bring it to them. So a lot of this other stuff, including governance, that's kind of layered in here and stuff. We're taking the first steps on it, but my feeling about this is that, and we have to stay with it because it's going to take time to develop it. And we want to be ready when they're ready. We want to be ready. But the focus right now is so much just on getting the features out and getting Goguen to launch, that everything else is just out here, right? So getting them to make these little changes is not as easy because they're so focused on that, which is fine. We need to be focused on that. We need that, I think, before these other things. But
Yeah,
we need to work on this also.
Well, I'm glad that I came today and that I responded to Ron's invitation, because this has definitely helped me get perspective about what has been happening within the, within SPOCRA, as well as what we've been, how some of the more involved stake pool operators and community members have seen the CIP process, because not a lot of people know about it. And what if nobody's been involved in the CIP process? Where has everybody been? And apparently you've been active all along. So I'm really glad to be able to see the evidence of that. But just one more thing that maybe I could take back to that committee, which is probably not going to. I don't know. Even if IO follows through with their plan in order to develop this catalyst circle or whatever, maybe they will be two competitive governance committees. I don't know, but the CIP team doesn't seem like they know that they're about to disband or be superseded. So they may be going on for some time anyway. So what could I tell them that the community would be looking for in order for you guys or us guys, or the Cardano community itself, to engage more with the CIP process as the Cardano Foundation has already outlined it? Again, I'm not working for the Cardano Foundation or anything, or representing them or anything. The CIP editing process is something that I've personally invested a lot of time in, that I think has a lot of potential if it had that kind of participation and accountability, a little bit more of a clear relationship between when does this CIP go up and when are they responsible for actually implementing it? In other words, to have some visibility and accountability that says the CIPs have to be achieved. As far as I know, that if I were just walking into the situation right now, or if this meeting were my first exposure to it, it would be the most clear thing missing, as I would see it. Once a CIP goes up, once it gets merged, once we can all see it, how do we ever know it's going to be implemented? I guess that would be my biggest question. But beyond that, I see you nodding your head there, and I'm kind of happy to see that, because that's a thing that we really need. Is there anything besides that would help the stake pool operator community, as you see it, to engage more with the CIP process as you've been looking at it today?
I agree with that. We need to have some sort of vote for these to be implemented, but I don't know how much IOG or like CF is going to really engage with the community. I think that's up to like people like us, like that are in SPOCRA and like such as yourself that have just dug into these. I think we need to, as SPOs, like we need to become more involved ourselves. We're not going to be spoon-fed this stuff. We need to understand like what changes are coming and how they're going to affect us. But at the same time, this stuff shouldn't be done in a vacuum, like where like they're doing their own research and they may not even be considering a lot of the stake pool operators and their businesses and models and how it's going to impact us. So we just need to build these bridges like we're doing right now and get more involved, I think.
Okay, well, there's a second meeting after the last one. The time zone difference kind of drives me crazy. I guess after on this event link, now that I see that you've made a little forum thread for this event, once I get a link to the meeting that's come up, so I don't have to dig it out in my last email. There was a presentation that I did at the last IOG marketing meeting about the stake pool CIP, and the one 2 weeks after that, the next of their bi-weekly meetings is going to be about the CIP process in general. So that'll be the usual stake pool operator dev meeting. Again, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's the one that Ben O'Hanlon usually chairpersons, and he gets 1 or 2 devs to talk about it. The next one is going to be about the CIP process. So if all of you guys could be there, that would be fantastic.
Okay, so you're talking about the Thursday SPO call that happens?
Yeah, it's like 4 o'clock Greenwich time, 4 o'clock UTC.
Yeah, it's early here too. Okay. Yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, for some reason I'm going blind on my email here, but I'll see if I can post it to the event thread in case anybody misses it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think, I really appreciate everything you're saying, Robert, because the truth is that at the very least, a group like SPOCRA and or individual stake pool operators should know how to be a part of SIP, what that means, what it's used for, and also how to kind of, where the real gap in understanding, and I think the real gap in like efficacy, if you will, of SIP is seeing SIPs go from an idea, a documentation, a proposal emerge on the Cardano Foundation side into a queue of priority on the IOG side, right?
Yes.
That's what's missing. The other thing we have to remember, IOG is contracted by Cardano Foundation, right? So the issue here is that IOG has all the head power with Charles, but they're actually really contracted by the Cardano Foundation to get the blockchain infrastructure done and programmed before it gets out there into a global governance community at Voltaire. So that's another thing too that I wonder, because right now IOG holds so much power, and they're really sort of just kind of running the show, with Charles just sort of kind of dictating how everything happens at the IOG level, but that also just ripples out everywhere into what the Cardano Foundation does and all that kind of stuff. So I have a feeling that something there, at some point that is going to have to reverse. The power system is going to have to come back into the Cardano Foundation, and they're going to have to be the ones that are holding that, and then contracting out with all the ecosystem partners and stuff like that. It's the way I see it. So that's where the community needs to really gather around the foundation and the way they do things, and make sure that they're central and well distributed. That's
I think that's
that IOG does have the plan to take a seat at the table instead of holding all the power. So I think they have that in mind, but at this point, how we transition into that power is really, it's delicate, because we don't want it to be like a wreck. Like if we rush into this whole process of how do we distribute the power and make sure that everyone that needs to have representation in making these decisions, it could fail if we don't do it the right way.
Playing with my mic.
Yeah. Okay. Does everybody know about the CIP bi-weekly meeting, which the whole community is invited to?
No, I don't know about that. That's good to know about.
God.
Nope.
All right, because I've been sending it out. I have so many relevant links here.
I think
it's a crowdcast.
On the SPOCRA network. I think we should start a SIP topic to get people to get really familiar with the process.
I tell you, if you do that, I will sit on it like it's a bunch of eggs, and I'm a hen in a hen house. And at any time you have questions about that kind of thing, I'd happily be a go-between between the two committees to be sure that the information was flowing as well as possible. I'd be happy to help with that. And as far as the crowdcast is concerned, I just sent the link there, and just anyone who hasn't seen that meeting thread, you can subscribe there and you'll get notified where the bi-weekly meetings, and you'll always know when they are.
Okay.
And they are open to the public.
So what we're gonna do, Robert, look for a link. Are you a member of SPOCRA?
Yeah, he is.
Are you in the network?
I have to renew. Yeah, I validated my pool and everything last year.
Right, but have you come to the SPOCRA.io and become a member there yet?
Yeah, he's already been posted in the demo.
Yeah, I joined on the Discord last year, and I joined again on the Moody Network this year.
Okay, so look for a link. We're gonna send you a link through your membership account, whatever email you use there. We're gonna send you a link to this topic. We're gonna create it, and then we're gonna give you some rights to it, and so you're aware of it, and you can start steering some energy inside that container. I think it'd be a very interesting topic for people in the community to stay abreast of these SIPs and how to start getting them to actually turn into the changes that we're proposing. I think that's really important. It's definitely a part of what SPOCRA is here to do, is assist in that at the very least, not spearhead it.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good to me, because that's what me and a handful of sympathetic people tried to do on the Cardano forum last year, and it just, like you said, we can set. There were individual links and comments or whatever. That's all eventually got fizzled out. So if we were all in one place with an interested community, I think it could go a lot farther this time. Yeah, I'd be happy to help with that.
Good.
Awesome. So we have about 4 minutes left. So we pretty much covered this one topic during this meeting, which was really good. But I think we had a couple other things. Ray, do you think we have time to give a sneak preview of our stock?
Yeah. You guys want to see a preview real quick? Here, let me.
Sure.
This is a final draft. We already have a few changes that we're going to be making, but it's very close. What's today, the 18th? Today is the 18th. Where the
Saturday has been the 19th.
Today is the 19th. Wow, unbelievable.
It's almost the 20th. It's almost the 20th here.
My God. Yeah, give me 1 second. La la. Yeah, I downloaded this on my phone, not on my computer. Okay, here we go, baby. 787 megs. Let's see how fast the internet is. Haha. It's about a 6-minute video. It'll probably be a little less than 5 by the time we're done with it.
We got time for about 2.5 minutes now.
Should we put it on widescreen?
It's gonna be. I'm gonna put it on there. It's almost there. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Come on home, internet. Thank you. I got my 24th block. Thank you very much. Last epoch killed me. I got 56% luck. I was like, you suck. But these next two, I'm like 120. Oh my yes. Come back, you bitch. Okay, hold on a second.
We're getting 400% this epoch. That's what it's like for a small pool. We have 500,000 stake, but we're getting two blocks. So 400% performance.
I love it.
You can't beat that.
Okay, here we go. I remember my very first block was 1,000%.
You got a 0 potential rewards, Robert? Or what do you show? Are you in the K = 500 group or no?
We're in the it's far enough beyond 500 that I think everybody gets 535 after that. So I've never seen any number other than 535. So we're outside the circle, whatever that is.
You're not making anything then, according to Daedalus.
Ron, can you make me a co-host?
Even with HK delegation, we were in this, asterisk group.
There you go. Share sound, baby. Here we go. Screen 4. Share. Dan, can you guys see a big black screen?
Yep, we can see it.
All right, here we go. Turn up your sound.
Yes.
What we do as scientists and engineers is we worry about the technology, we worry about the science. But then there's also this business of staking where it has to be profitable. And there's a business ecosystem that needs to be built out. Okay, so for the business of staking, the stake pool operators need to work with us, the foundation, and other actors, and we need to start thinking about unifying standards and lobbying for what SPOs need. Okay, so a natural evolution from where we are at here, where do we go from here, are things like a trade guild, where basically groups of SPOs, they band together to create standards, collectively bargain, think about things. Every single endeavor in life has a trade association.
So welcome. We've just been discussing the whirlwind that has been the last 24 hours and all of the work that we've got accomplished on SPOCRA is what we're calling it. Temporarily.
You gotta take me through this acronym.
All right, Kyle, that's all you.
Stake pool operators, representation. No. What the hell is it? It's late.
Perfect.
Okay. Stake pool operator collective representation assembly. There you go.
There we go. SPOCRA.
SPOCRA.
You got Spock with Ra. You need to get like a Vulcan with the old Egyptian god, right?
Right.
So SPOCRA is the Stake Pool Operator Collective Representation Assembly. So it's quite a mouthful. SPOCRA has been born out of necessity and is committed to being a voice for all stake pool operators that want to contribute and benefit from participating in the Cardano ecosystem.
Why do you think SPOCRA should exist, and what do you think your role in helping it succeed if you got onto the board?
So I think SPOCRA could be the platform which we actually, one of the points which we can help our stake pool operators is, to become better ones and basically secure the network. Because it's also not on, on individual, it depends on all the stake pool operators.
The impetus for this came, I think, from an announcement that Charles made around the need for a decentralized community like Cardano to have a trade association for stake pool operators. Is there a channel for us to express the concerns of large and small stake pool operators? What influence can we have ultimately on maintaining the equilibrium and integrity of what is really the backbone of this blockchain?
After maybe 12 hours later, after the SPOCRA Discord came to being, I quickly jumped in and just went to like the beginning of the messages, and I just saw there was like so much activity and all these ideas just coming together, and I was just like, wow, this is awesome. I want to be a part of this.
It also helps in the network diversity. So it's a way to educate other stake pool operators. Maybe there might be some form of certifications about how to become a stake pool operator in the future. And it's also a way for us to be able to present some of the ideas or some of the recommendations that we have together as one. So it will be like one single voice for the whole stake pool operators to be able to represent somebody from this part of the world, which Cardano is actually being built for.
There is a strong need to establish quality communication channels with the ecosystem partners. We don't all have to be on the same page, but if we can provide granular visibility to ecosystem stakeholders, that in itself will provide value as well. And stake pool operators, we're the only truly decentralized component of the ecosystem in Cardano, because at some point, we have to think of what we're doing as we're governing a protocol as a community, and at some point, community members are going to be able to receive voting power by others delegating their voting power, so-called experts, right? And so that can create a dangerous landscape if we don't have the ability to educate. You know, you can have a potential it's an attack vector, a social attack vector in my mind. You know, you can have somebody out there who just plays the popularity game, gets the vote delegations. Now they're overpowering IOG and Cardano. We, as a community, need to do anyways. We've got to establish that infrastructure so we can outvote, or at least influence outvoting things that are best for the protocol, not necessarily with selfish intentions, but be able to more or less defend from that.
What are your current thoughts about SPOCRA? I'm staying out of SPOCRA. My only position about SPOCRA is I think it's a good idea for dedicated representation to form for stake pool operators. And my belief is more is better. So there will be diversity, geographic and leadership philosophy, and there's going to be differences of opinion. It is not my place to pick winners and losers. It's never been. I live underneath this system. And what I need is great partners to work with to have discussions about the economic parameters of the system once the system reaches full stability, so that we can get a better feedback loop on getting those parameters where they need to go for the system to be stable. So I'm glad to see SPOCRA form. I'm glad to see the innovation there, and I hope more will happen.
Yeah, baby.
All right. Not too bad for a final draft. A little long on some of the interviews. So we're gonna make. We actually already made the cuts. they didn't get into the final draft, I noticed. So yeah, what did you guys think? Just quick feedback.
Oh, I haven't seen my videos since it was taken. Yeah, I think very good, you know. It's really nice to see, you know, Charles commenting on SPOCRA. So this is, you know, gives additional, you know, boost for people to, you know, check out. But yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, I'd like to mention on that note. So Charles said a key sentence. So he said that once the system reaches stabilization, then he wants partners to work with.
That's why we got.
That is a problem. I think that might
pretty
be
damn stable. To me, I'd like to say that real quick. I didn't like what I said about the stake pool operators being the only decentralized component. That absolutely includes the stakeholders. Everybody who holds Cardano is part of the system.
Right.
So I didn't like that I said. So I wanted to clarify that for everybody.
I was thinking that too when you said that.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. We'll cut that out.
Should we redo the first our videos?
What'd you say, buddy?
My network is really bad.
The world of SIPs.
Car.
All right, guys. Well, I think we're done for this. We have a board meeting we need to jump into. So if there's no other comments, we're gonna move on and get over to our board.
Yeah, and Robert, really appreciate you coming today and sharing everything you did, and we'll definitely be in touch with you about setting up a container within our mighty network so that you can continue doing that great work you've been doing and help other SPOs that want to be a part of the decision making that goes into SIPs.
Thank you, guys.
You guys, and to see some of you guys again. Okay, cheers. Bye bye. Good night.
Yeah, see you soon. Okay, thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
See you, everybody.